When I was a very young child, our family experienced homelessness. It was not something that was our fault. It happened because there was a fire in the neighborhood and it burned down a lot of the homes that we lived in. In seeking help, we found that felt very alone a lot of the times. It seemed that if there was no one willing to help us, and that being unhoused meant that suddenly we were outcasts from society, when in fact my parents were still working, we were going to school, and we just needed a place to call home. And if it wasn't for this just one person finally coming out and really helping us within a government agency and really helping us see the process all the way through to get us a home, we wouldn't be where we are today, and I wouldn't be where I am today. And knowing that there are many others in our communities who face this, we have a moral obligation to really help them and come back to being productive and safe and secure, households in our society. This is the only way we can all advance together.
So the pandemic has had a devastating economic impact in our Asian immigrant communities. So many of them have lost employment, especially because many of them worked in the very industries that have been most adversely impacted, not only by the pandemic, but also by the shelter-in-place mandates that followed. We're finding that a lot of our clients are struggling to be able to find work and to find the income to be able to afford affordable housing. So what we're seeing is a widespread situation of a lot of Asian immigrant families even more precariously living in housing situations that are not permanent. They are living in SROs. They are renting rooms or even beds in bunk bed situations because they cannot afford permanent housing. They're relying on being able to stay with their families temporarily or with unrelated adults in roommate situations as a way of having temporary shelter.
예, 후로싱 지역에는 이제 홈리스들이 눈에 띄는 분들은 이제 저는 한인이어서 그런지 이제 한인이나 또 중국인 그리고 뭐 대만인 그런 분들이 이제 주로 이제 아시아권 있는 분들이 눈에 띄게 됩니다. 이제 이런 분들이 있게 되면 이곳에 쉘터에 오지 않겠느냐 이제 질문도 하기도 하고.
제가 2017년입니다. 2017년 그때 엘머스트에 살고 있었는데요. 도저히 방을 얻어서 이리로 이사 왔는데 돈이 안 됩니다. 방을 얻을 만한 돈이 안 돼가지고 저는 나눔의 집이 있었는지도 몰랐습니다. 그때 당시엔 몰랐는데 지나가는 사람한테 내가 그런 사정을 얘기했더니 자기가 알려주겠다고 주소를 줬습니다. 그 주소를 줘가지고 들어온 게 여기입니다.
제가 오고 나서 사람이 분위기가 바뀌면 잠을 못 자지 않습니까? 여러 가지로. 또 저 개인적으로 참 이 생각 저 생각 그럼 잠을 못 자야 되는데 처음 이사 온 날 지난 일요일 날 이사했습니다. 이사 온 날 잠자리에 누웠는데 그냥 잠이 들었습니다. 그래서 눈을 번쩍 뜨니까 한 2-3시간 잔 것 같아요. 그런데 몸이 날아갈 정도로 개운했습니다. 그래서 제가 이사하기 전에는 잠을 거의 못 잤습니다. 이 생각 저 생각 살아야 되나 죽어야 되나 해가지고.
우리가 이제 리스도 끝나서 이사를 해야 됩니다. 그래서 이사를 하려면 우리가 더 좋은 이제 그런 20-30명이 머물 수 있는 쉘터가 필요합니다. 현재 여기는 화장실이 2개밖에 없습니다. 그래서 이게 식사를 하고 나서는 굉장히 고통스럽습니다. 또 우리 안에 들어와 있던 분들 가운데서도 이제 패밀리가 있는데 미스터리라는 분은 이곳에 머물게 되었고 또 와이프가 이제 차이니즈예요. 그리고 딸이 하나 있었어요. 3살 된 딸은 이제 펜 아메리카노 호텔인가 거기에서 이제 거기가 홈리스 쉘터로 있게 됩니다. 그래서 거기서 머물고 있다가 저 JFK 케네디 에어포트 그 밑에 아파트를 정부에서 줘가지고 그쪽으로 이제 가정이 가서 살게 되는 경우가 있었습니다. 사실 그런 경우는 매우 드뭅니다. 이제 그런 분들이 하도 많기 때문에. 그리고 또 이곳에 너무너무 필요합니다. 패밀리가 들어가서 쉼을 얻을 수 있고 어려움을 당하고 또 재정적인 어려움이죠. 그런 분들이 이제 그곳에 들어가는 것은 절실하게 필요합니다. 그것은 우리 한인뿐만 아니고 우리 차이니즈 분들도 그렇고 다민족도 아마 그러리라고 제가 생각이 됩니다.
I learned about these 200 families that traveled from Ecuador through our partners at COVID Care Neighbor Network. There was no question that we wanted in some way to support these families. In our own backyards in Jackson Heights, families, many with children, were living in very unstable circumstances.
What I found was that last summer there was this influx of immigrants, all from the Andes Mountains in central Ecuador, and a lot of them had fled central Ecuador for better prospects here in New York, and they were looking just to register their kids in school. And so again, COVID Care, just neighbor helping neighbor, we're able to help. So we started with school registration, but once you start talking to kids about school, we kind of ask, does your child have health insurance? Do you want to learn English? Do you know that the Department of Education offers free English classes? Do you know how to register for them? Do you know about some of your rights with housing? A lot of them didn't know about winter and didn't know they would need winter coats and hats and gloves. So we did basic drives to try to get them the things they would need just to live in New York.
Bueno, creo que el desafío más grande es en buscar un arriendo, ¿no? Es la parte más complicada que pude encontrar, pero sin embargo tuve muchas personas latinos que viven años aquí, me han ayudado de entrada, nunca me lo negaron.
Muchas cosas nos tocó enfrentar económicamente y no conocíamos de ciudad. Bueno, esos desafíos para mí muy grandes y sobresalí de eso, gracias a Dios, y con la ayuda de vecinos.
I will say, in Jackson Heights and many of the families that have come to us for help, it's remarkable how self-sufficient they are, but it is also quite remarkable how there is no safety net for them. And so a rainstorm will completely upend their entire existence and completely destabilize them.
There is this model minority myth, and that oftentimes, especially in our communities, the poverty and the need isn't readily visible. But we see it when folks are coming to our offices asking for that help. Sometimes it's a small business who has come and said, we need the small business, but I also heard you have housing help because they're also housing unstable. It stretches through so many things that is interlinked, and that we see it day in and day out. And we have been so busy dealing with this that sometimes we have to step back and let the world know that there are these people, and we see them. There's thousands that come through our doors every year that need this help.